Students, in this session, I'm going to explain you about the structural organization of proteins. There are four levels of structural organization of proteins. They are primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, and quaternary structure. Now let us know about the primary structure. The linear sequence of amino acids in a protein or in a polypeptide chain is nothing but its primary structure. Here we can see only covalent bonds between between the amino acids in the form of peptide bonds. While writing the sequence of these amino acids, the individual amino acids are represented either as three-letter representation or by using one-letter representation. We are going to write the sequence, and the sequence is always written from N terminal to C terminal by using the N terminal amino acid as the first amino acid. We are going to keep on writing the sequence of amino acids till we reach the C terminal end. So it always should be written from N terminal to C terminal end. So this is about the primary structure. Now let us know about the secondary structure. Okay, the local spatial arrangement of the polypeptide backbone into some regular repeating structure is nothing but the secondary structure. So in that secondary structure, we need not bother about the conformations of the side chain of the amino acids. Only we are concerned only with the backbone, polypeptide backbone. So these secondary structures, in the nature we can see the two abundant form of the secondary structures. One is the alpha helix and another one is beta pleated sheet. So now let us know about the alpha helix. So alpha helix is nothing but the if the polypeptide backbone, okay, just imagine. So if the polypeptide backbone is going to form some coiled structure around some imaginary axis, just imagine whatever the line here I am drawing, if it is an imaginary axis, so if any backbone of our polypeptide chain is going to be coiled around this linear imaginary axis, then that coiled structure is nothing but the alpha helix. So in the nature, whatever alpha helix are going to be formed by the L amino acids, they are all right-handed alpha helix. Thus, we can say that all the L amino acids are going to form right-handed alpha helix. Similarly, the D amino acids are going to form left-handed alpha helix. Okay, so in this alpha helix, now let us know the characteristic features of this alpha helix. In the alpha helix, the R groups of the amino acid side, the R groups of the amino acids usually protrude out from this polypeptide backbone. This polypeptide backbone is going to form a tight coil, and so the R groups will protrude outward from this polypeptide backbone. So in this case, we can see 3.6 amino acids per turn of the helix, and the pitch, which means the rise in the helix along the axis, okay, is 5.4 angstroms. So the alpha helix, this coil structure is going to be stabilized by the intra-chain hydrogen bonds. So see, once our polypeptide is backbone is going to form this alpha helix, uh, to remain in that alpha helical form, some additional forces have to be additional forces are needed. So therefore here, in order to stabilize the structure, the intra-chain hydrogen bonds are formed. But some speciality is there. The hydrogen bond is going to be formed between the atoms of the peptide group. So in the peptide group, we have in the peptide, the atoms that are present in the peptide group are CO and NH. So the oxygen which is attached to this carboxyl group, oxygen which is present in this carboxyl group is going to form some hydrogen bond with the hydrogen of the NH present in some other peptide bond. Okay, so therefore there is some specificity in this peptide bond also. The CO of the first peptide bond is always going to form hydrogen bond with the NH of the fourth amino acid which is ahead of it. Okay, there is a formation of the hydrogen bond between the CO of the first amino acid and NH of the peptide bond of fourth amino acid ahead of it. So, like this, a series of hydrogen bonds are going to be formed between these peptide bonds, and that's why alpha helix is stabilized. Some other factors are there which are going to destabilize this alpha helix. If the presence of the proline, in the alpha helix is going to destabilize it. Similarly, if the amino acids with bulky R groups like serine, threonine, asparagine, leucine, if they are present adjacent to one another, then also they act as destabilizing factors. Apart from this, if the adjacent amino acids are positively charged amino acids or the negatively charged amino acids, because of their repulsion, they also tend to destabilize the alpha helix. So not only destabilizing factors, some other factors are there which are going to stabilize this alpha helix. These are, again we need to consider the structure of this alpha helix. While the formation of this alpha helix, we can see that the R group of the first amino acid exactly lie over the R group of the fourth amino acid. So in this coiled structure, the R group of the first amino acid comes above the R group of the fourth amino acid. Similarly, the R group of the second amino acid will be in interaction with the R group of the fifth amino acid. So, like because of such interactions, if the first and fourth amino acids, I mean the R group of the first and fourth amino acids, if they are oppositely charged, okay, then due to their electrostatic interaction, the alpha helix is stabilized. Similarly, if the first and fourth amino acids or second and fifth amino acids, if they are hydrophobic amino acids, then due to the hydrophobic interaction, they are going to stabilize the alpha helix. So this is about the stability of the alpha helix, and that's all about the alpha helix. In the nature, we can see so many proteins that exist in the form of the alpha helix. The most common examples are most of the fibrous proteins. Most of the fibrous proteins they are present in the form of they are present in linear extended form, and and they are present in the alpha helical form. Okay, in that linear extended form, they are present in the alpha helical form. The example for the alpha helices that are present in the nature are collagen molecules. Example are collagen, then alpha keratins. These are some of the examples of the proteins that are present in the alpha helical form. So now let us know about the beta pleated sheets. Unlike alpha helix, in the beta pleated sheet, the polypeptide chain is in a linear extended form, and it is extended in some zigzag fashion. Okay, and here the polypeptide chains are arranged adjacent to one another, and these polypeptide chains are going to be stabilized by the formation of the interchain hydrogen bonds. In the alpha helix, the helix was going to be stabilized by the intrachain hydrogen bonds, but here in beta pleated sheets, there is some interchain hydrogen bonds. It means the hydrogen bonds are going to be formed between the peptide groups of adjacent chains. And here also the R groups protrude out from the extended polypeptide chain in the opposite direction. So there are in this beta pleated sheets, we can see the two forms of the beta pleated sheets. One is parallel beta pleated sheet, and another one is so there are two forms of the beta pleated sheets occur in the nature. One is parallel beta pleated sheet and another one is anti-parallel beta pleated sheet. In the parallel beta pleated sheets, the adjacent polypeptide chains are arranged parallel to one another. Parallel to one another means they are oriented. All the polypeptide chains are oriented in a same manner. That is from N terminal to C terminal, or either in C terminal to N terminal form. But in anti-parallel beta pleated sheets, the adjacent polypeptide chains orient in opposite direction. If it is N terminal and if it is C terminal, this will be N terminal, this will be the C terminal. Again, this is C, this is N. So like this, the adjacent polypeptides are going to be arranged in opposite orientation, and that's why we call them as anti-parallel beta pleated sheets. In nature, we can see both parallel and anti-parallel beta pleated sheets. Among the anti-parallel beta pleated sheets are more stable when compared to parallel beta pleated sheets. And average number of polypeptides that can be seen in the anti-parallel beta pleated are not average number. Usually the beta pleated anti-parallel beta pleated sheets are going to be formed by 2 to 22 polypeptide chains with average of 6 polypeptide chains, with average number of the 6 polypeptide chains, whereas the parallel beta pleated sheet is going to have maximum number of 5 to 6 polypeptide chains. 5 to 6 polypeptide chains. And now let us learn the structure of this beta pleated structure of the parallel beta pleated sheets. While writing the structure of the parallel beta pleated sheets, it's very easy. We can write first we have to write the linear extended form of the chain. Just imagine it is N terminal and this is C terminal. Okay, because we are going to write the write the parallel beta pleated sheets. So write another polypeptide chain in a same manner, and here it should be exactly similar to this one. See, wherever the peaks we have, wherever the peaks we have, in that position only the peaks should come. This is N terminal and this is C terminal. This is N terminal. This is C terminal. So students, like this we have to write. In parallel means exactly we have to write like this. Okay, wherever the peak comes here, the in the second polypeptide also the peak should be in the same position. Wherever the some depth is there, or wherever we have some crest like structure, that should be like this only. Okay, like this only we have to write. So while writing the parallel beta pleated sheets, we have to write it like this. Write the polypeptides like this. So this is N means here it will be NH3 plus. So then it will be C alpha. This is carboxyl group. This is NH. Again C alpha, CO, NH. This will be C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH, and this is C alpha. So similarly here also we are going to have C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH. This is C alpha, this is CO, NH, and it is again C alpha. Here also it will be C alpha, CO, NH. This is C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH. It is C alpha, CO, NH. It is C alpha. So in this case, these are the adjacent polypeptide chains, and you can see, first we will see the hydrogen bonding pattern. See, there is a hydrogen bond formation between the carboxyl. This is one peptide group. So this is one peptide group, and this is another peptide group. Here the hydrogen bond is going to be formed between the CO of this peptide group with the NH of some other peptide group. Here also like this, the hydrogen bond is going to be formed between these two. So like this, there is a formation of the hydrogen bond. See, this is one peptide group CONH, and here the oxygen atom is going to form hydrogen bond with the, actually this is O. It is going to form hydrogen bond with the NH of the next polypeptide chain. So like this. So therefore in the adjacent polypeptide chains are going to be stabilized, are going to be in interaction with the hydrogen bonds formed between the atoms that are present in the peptide bond. So thus we can say that there is an interchain hydrogen bond. In this case, in case of the parallel beta pleated sheets, or whether it may be parallel or anti-parallel beta pleated sheets, because they appear as some pleated sheets, we call these beta conformations as beta pleated sheets. Now let us learn the structure of the anti-parallel beta pleated sheets. So anti-parallel beta pleated sheets. In anti-parallel beta pleated sheets also, we have to write the, so first we have to write the extended form of the polypeptide chain. Okay, this is N terminal and this is C terminal. While writing the second polypeptide chain, the second polypeptide chain should be like mirror image of this one. I mean, wherever the depths we have here, in that exact position, the peak should be there. So like this. So wherever the peak is there in the first polypeptide chain, corresponding dip should be there here. So similarly, while writing the third polypeptide chain also, we have to follow the same thing. Okay, here I'm going to show it. So just see, if it is one polypeptide chain, the second polypeptide chain should be like this. Okay. The third polypeptide chain should be complementary to the second one. So like this we have to write the chain. If it is N terminal to C terminal, then this will be C terminal and this will be N terminal. Again it is N and it is C terminal. So then this is, if it is NH3 plus, means this will be the C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH, This is C alpha, CO, NH will be C alpha. If it is C, means COO minus, then this will be the NH, then it is C alpha, then it will be, this is C alpha, this is CO, and here it will be NH, C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH, this is C alpha, CO, and it will be NH3 plus of some next amino acid. Okay. Here it is NH plus. This will be C alpha, CO, NH. This is C alpha, CO, NH, C alpha, CO, NH. This is C alpha, CO, NH. See, in this case, the hydrogen bonds are going to be again the pattern of hydrogen bonds are, see, the hydrogen bonds are going to be formed between the CO and NH. Here also, this is H. Okay, this is how we can see the hydrogen bonds in the polypeptide chains. Okay, so this is the pattern of, this is the structure of the anti-parallel beta pleated sheets. In the, therefore, we can see that in case of the anti-parallel beta pleated sheets, I have already told you, because these hydrogen bonds are exactly, I mean, the position of atoms in this hydrogen bonds is around 180 degree. They are linear, exactly opposite to this oxygen, hydrogen atom is there, and opposite to this hydrogen atom, nitrogen is there. Because they are oriented in 180 degree, these hydrogen bonds are more strong when compared to those that are present in the parallel beta pleated sheets, and therefore we can see the anti-parallel beta pleated sheets are more stable when compared to parallel beta pleated sheets. So this is about the structure of the parallel and anti-parallel beta pleated sheets. So you can see here that this R groups, okay, this is the C alpha, means the R group is, this R group is present below the plane of the sheet. This R group is present above the plane of the sheet. So thus we can say that here also the R groups protrude outward from the sheet, but the successive R groups are present in opposite direction. Here it is, if one R group is present above the plane of the ring, above the plane of the sheet, the adjacent R group will be present below the plane of the sheet. So this is about the structure of the beta pleated sheets. And one more thing about this beta pleated sheet is the adjacent polypeptide chains are usually placed. The adjacent polypeptide chains are usually placed at about 7 angstroms in anti-parallel beta pleated sheets and about 6.5 angstroms in parallel beta pleated sheets. So that's all about the